Have you ever wondered what happens when those next in line to massive fortunes never live to see their inheritance? What becomes of the millions, sometimes billions, that were destined for their bank accounts? Number 8. John Kennedy Jr., America's Prince cut short. Did America lose its closest thing to royalty that fateful July night in 1999? When John F. Kennedy Jr.'s plane crashed into the Atlantic Ocean near Martha's Vineyard, a potential presidential legacy was extinguished forever. John Kennedy Jr., often called America's Prince, was the son of President John F. Kennedy and Jackie Kennedy Onassis. His mother had amassed a fortune estimated at $43,700,000 by the time of her death in 1994. As her son, John Jr. stood to inherit a significant portion of this wealth, along with various properties and priceless historical artifacts connected to the Kennedy legacy. Growing up in the spotlight, John had managed to carve out his own identity. He founded the political magazine George and married Carolyn Bessette in a secret ceremony that captivated America. At just 38 years old, he had his whole life ahead of him, including his inheritance and the potential to continue the Kennedy political dynasty. But on July 16, 1999, the single-engine plane he was piloting disappeared from radar. The wreckage was discovered days later. John, his wife Carolyn, and her sister Lauren were all killed instantly. The nation mourned collectively for the son of Camelot. John's untimely death meant his share of the Kennedy fortune passed to his sister Caroline Kennedy, the sole surviving child of JFK and Jackie. Caroline became the keeper of the family's financial legacy, with John's portion added to her own inheritance. The Kennedy fortune continues today, though without the charismatic presence of the man many Americans hoped would one day follow his father's footsteps into politics. The tragedy left an indelible mark on American culture. Many still wonder what might have been had John Kennedy Jr. lived to claim his inheritance and possibly transform it into a launching pad for political ambitions that many believed would have taken him all the way to the White House. Number 7. Jett Travolta, the beloved son of Hollywood royalty. What pain could be greater than losing a child? For John Travolta and Kelly Preston, the answer came in the most devastating form possible. Jett Travolta, the son of Hollywood stars John Travolta and Kelly Preston, would have one day inherited a vast fortune from his famous parents. John Travolta's net worth alone exceeds $250 million, built through decades of blockbuster films from Saturday Night Fever to Pulp Fiction. Born in 1992, Jett was the couple's oldest child and only son for many years. He lived with autism and Kawasaki disease, a condition that causes inflammation in blood vessels. Despite his health challenges, Jett was deeply loved and provided with every advantage his parents' wealth could offer. Tragically, while on a family vacation in the Bahamas in January 2009, 16-year-old Jett suffered a seizure and hit his head in the bathroom of their vacation home. Despite immediate efforts to save him, he passed away. The tragedy devastated the Travolta family. John and Kelly established the Jett Travolta Foundation in memory of their son, using part of their fortune to help children with special needs. Though Jett never lived to inherit his portion of the Travolta wealth, his legacy lives on through the foundation's work. Following his death, the inheritance that might have gone to Jett would eventually pass to his younger siblings, Ella Blue and Benjamin, who was born after Jett's death in 2010. The family faced another tragedy in 2020 when Kelly Preston died of breast cancer, leaving John to raise their children alone, with his fortune eventually going to the surviving children. The loss of Jett shows that even immense wealth cannot protect against life's cruelest twists. John Travolta has spoken openly about how his faith helped him through the grief, demonstrating that some losses can't be measured in dollars and cents. Number 6. Nicole Smith's son Daniel, gone just before the windfall. Can you imagine dying just days before your mother stood to inherit a fortune that would have changed both your lives forever? That's exactly what happened to Daniel Wayne Smith. Daniel, the son of model and reality TV star Nicole Smith, died under shocking circumstances at just 20 years old. What makes his story particularly tragic is the timing. He passed away in September 2006 while visiting his mother in a Bahamas hospital, just 3 days after she had given birth to his half-sister Danielyn. At the time of his death, Anna Nicole was in the midst of a lengthy legal battle over the estate of her late husband, oil tycoon J. Howard Marshall, who had died in 1995. The inheritance in question was estimated to be worth around $1.6 billion. Had Anna Nicole won her case, Daniel would have been in line to inherit a substantial portion of that wealth. Daniel grew up mostly out of the spotlight, despite his mother's fame. Friends and family described him as quiet and intelligent, a stark contrast to his mother's flamboyant public persona. He had appeared occasionally on her reality show, The Anna Nicole Show, but generally preferred to maintain his privacy. His death was attributed to an accidental overdose involving methadone and antidepressants. The tragedy sent Anna Nicole into a deep depression from which she never fully recovered. In a cruel twist of fate, Anna Nicole herself died just 5 months later in February 2007, never having resolved the inheritance dispute or having had the chance to fully grieve her son. The battle over J. Howard Marshall's billions continued long after both Daniel and Anna Nicole had passed away. Eventually, Anna Nicole's daughter Danielyn became the heir to whatever portion of the estate might be awarded to her mother's side. While Danielyn has inherited her mother's modeling genes and makes occasional public appearances, she lives a relatively normal life with her father Larry Birkhead. Daniel's death represents one of the most tragically timed losses in celebrity history, so close to what could have been a life-changing windfall, yet so far from ever enjoying it. Number 5. Brandon Lee, the Dragon's Son silenced too soon. Have you heard about the eerie parallels between Brandon Lee's death and the movie he was filming? The son of martial arts legend Bruce Lee was on the cusp of Hollywood superstardom when tragedy struck. Brandon Lee, born in 1965, was the only son of Bruce Lee, one of the most influential martial artists and film stars of all time. When Bruce died unexpectedly in 1973 at just 32 years old, his estate was worth approximately $10 million in today's dollars, not counting the incalculable value of his legacy and image rights that would grow exponentially over the decades. Growing up in his father's shadow, Brandon eventually pursued acting himself. After several smaller roles, he landed the lead in The Crow, a gothic superhero film that seemed poised to launch him into Hollywood's elite circles. The role would have undoubtedly increased his personal worth significantly, adding to what he stood to inherit from his father's estate. In a horrific accident during filming in March 1993, Brandon was shot and killed by a prop gun that contained a real bullet fragment. He was just 28 years old. The incident occurred during the filming of a scene where his character was supposed to be shot. In a terrible irony, Brandon's character in The Crow returns from the dead to avenge his own murder. Following his death, Bruce Lee's estate, which would have eventually passed in part to Brandon, instead went entirely to Brandon's mother Linda and his sister Shannon. They have since managed the Bruce Lee Foundation and protected the martial arts icon's legacy. The Crow was completed using special effects and stand-ins and was released in May 1994. The film became a critical and commercial success, grossing over $50 million domestically. For many fans, it stands as a haunting testament to Brandon's talent and the career that might have been. The deaths of both Bruce and Brandon Lee at young ages have fueled numerous conspiracy theories and rumors about a family curse. Whatever one believes, the tragic reality is that Brandon Lee never lived to fully inherit or benefit from his father's financial legacy or to build his own fortune through what promised to be a brilliant film career. Number 4. Bobbi Kristina Brown, Whitney's daughter, lost in similar circumstances. Can lightning strike twice in the same tragic way? For the family of Whitney Houston, the answer was a devastating yes. Bobbi Kristina Brown was the only child of music legends Whitney Houston and Bobby Brown. When Whitney Houston died in 2012, she left behind an estate valued at approximately $20 million, all of which was designated to go to Bobbi Kristina through a trust fund, with disbursements scheduled at ages 21, 25, and 30. Born in 1993 into music royalty, Bobbi Kristina grew up in the spotlight. She occasionally performed with her mother and appeared in the reality show Being Bobby Brown. Despite the advantages of her privileged upbringing, she also witnessed her parents' troubled marriage and their struggles with substance abuse. When Whitney Houston was found dead in a hotel bathtub in February 2012, the world mourned the loss of a musical icon. Bobbi Kristina, just 18 at the time, was devastated by her mother's passing. She had received her first trust payment at 21 and stood to inherit the remainder of Whitney's fortune as she reached the other age milestones. In an eerie parallel that shocked fans worldwide, Bobbi Kristina was found unconscious in a bathtub in her home in January 2015, almost 3 years to the day after her mother's death. She never regained consciousness and remained in a coma for 6 months before passing away in July 2015 at just 22 years old. With Bobbi Kristina's death, Whitney Houston's estate then passed to Whitney's mother Cissy Houston and her 2 brothers, according to the terms of Whitney's will in the event of Bobbi Kristina's death. Bobby Brown, as Bobbi Kristina's father, did not inherit any of Whitney's fortune. The circumstances surrounding Bobbi Kristina's death led to a wrongful death lawsuit against her boyfriend Nick Gordon, who was ordered to pay $36 million to Bobbi Kristina's estate after being found legally responsible for her death, though he was never criminally charged. Gordon himself died of a drug overdose in January 2020. Bobbi Kristina's story stands as one of the most heartbreaking in celebrity history. A young woman who lost her mother, briefly inherited her fortune, and then followed her to an early grave in shockingly similar circumstances. Number 3. Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds, the mother-daughter Hollywood legacy. What could be more shocking than a beloved mother and daughter dying just 1 day apart? The entertainment world was stunned when it happened to Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds. Carrie Fisher, famous for her role as Princess Leia in the Star Wars franchise, was the daughter of Hollywood royalty Debbie Reynolds and singer Eddie Fisher. Debbie Reynolds had amassed a fortune throughout her career in film and through her extensive collection of Hollywood memorabilia, estimated to be worth millions. Carrie had established her own successful career not only as an actress but also as a best-selling author and acclaimed script doctor in Hollywood. She had one daughter, Billie Lourd, who stood to inherit both her mother's and eventually her grandmother's estate. In December 2016, while on a flight from London to Los Angeles, 60-year-old Carrie suffered a medical emergency and was rushed to the hospital upon landing. After 4 days in intensive care, she died on December 27, 2016. The exact cause was determined to be sleep apnea and a combination of other undetermined factors. In a development that seemed pulled from fiction, Debbie Reynolds was reportedly planning her daughter's funeral the very next day when she suffered a stroke. Her last words, according to her son Todd Fisher, were, "I want to be with Carrie." She passed away on December 28, 2016, just 1 day after her daughter. The dual tragedy meant that Carrie never inherited her portion of her mother's estate. Instead, both estates passed to Carrie's daughter Billie Lourd, who suddenly found herself the heir to both her mother's and grandmother's fortunes at just 24 years old. Billie Lourd has since followed in her family's footsteps with her own acting career, appearing in American Horror Story and Star Wars, Episode VII, The Force Awakens, alongside her mother in Carrie's final role as Princess Leia. She has also become the keeper of both her mother's and grandmother's legacies. The Fisher-Reynolds fortune included not only their earnings from film and writing, but also Debbie Reynolds' famous collection of Hollywood memorabilia, which included iconic items like Marilyn Monroe's white dress from The 7-Year Itch and Charlie Chaplin's bowler hat. Much of this collection was auctioned off to settle debts of Reynolds' estate. The story of Carrie Fisher and Debbie Reynolds remains one of Hollywood's most poignant tales of a family legacy cut short, with fortunes passing in unexpected ways due to the cruel timing of fate. Number 2. Beau Biden, the president's son who never saw his father's highest office. What does it mean when a father achieves his greatest dream only after losing his greatest inspiration? Joe Biden knows this heartbreak all too well. Joseph R. Beau Biden III was the eldest son of current U.S. President Joe Biden. As the son of a long-serving U.S. Senator and later Vice President, Beau was positioned not only to inherit whatever wealth his father had accumulated, but also, many believed, to inherit his political legacy. Born in 1969, Beau followed in his father's footsteps in many ways. He served as the Attorney General of Delaware from 2007 to 2015 and was a major in the Delaware Army National Guard, even deploying to Iraq in 2008 for a year. Many political analysts saw him as a rising star with potential for national office, possibly even the presidency that his father would eventually achieve. Joe Biden's net worth, while modest compared to many politicians of his stature, grew significantly during his time as vice president and through book deals and speaking engagements. As his eldest son, Beau would have been in line to inherit a portion of this estate. In 2013, Beau was diagnosed with brain cancer. After treatment, the cancer initially went into remission, but it returned 2 years later. Despite aggressive medical intervention, Beau Biden died on May 30, 2015, at the age of 46, leaving behind his wife Hallie and 2 children. Joe Biden has spoken openly about how Beau's death affected him, even citing it as a reason he did not run for president in 2016. When Biden did eventually run and win in 2020, many of his supporters noted the poignancy that Beau never lived to see his father achieve the highest office in the land. Following Beau's death, his inheritance would have passed to his wife and children. Joe Biden has established the Biden Cancer Initiative in honor of his son, channeling grief into action that might spare other families similar pain. President Biden has often quoted Beau's personal motto, "Never complain, never explain." It's a philosophy that seems to have guided both men through lives marked by both tremendous public service and profound personal tragedy. Number 1. Paul Walker. Fast fortune, faster fate. Can a life lived fast end too fast? Paul Walker's tragic story suggests a heartbreaking answer. Paul Walker rose to international fame through the Fast and Furious film franchise, playing Brian O'Connor, an undercover cop-turned-street racer. At the time of his sudden death in 2013, Walker had amassed a fortune estimated at $25 million, with the potential for much more as the franchise continued to explode in global popularity. Born in 1973, Walker began his career as a child model and actor before breaking through in the late 1990s with roles in Varsity Blues and She's All That. It was 2001's The Fast and the Furious that transformed him into a Hollywood star. By the time of his death, he had completed 6 films in the franchise, with the 7th in production. On November 30, 2013, while on a break from filming Furious 7, Walker attended a charity event for his organization Reach Out Worldwide. After the event, he and friend Roger Rodas went for a drive in Rodas's Porsche Carrera GT. The car crashed into a concrete lamp post and 2 trees, bursting into flames. Both men died immediately. Walker was just 40 years old. Walker left behind his daughter Meadow, who was 15 at the time of his death and the sole beneficiary of his estate. Paul had maintained a close relationship with Meadow, who had moved in with him the year before his death after living with her mother in Hawaii for much of her childhood. In addition to his film earnings, Walker's estate included a collection of about 30 cars, a 10-acre property in Santa Barbara, and several other real estate investments. All of this passed to Meadow through a trust managed by Walker's father until she came of age. Furious 7 was completed using CGI and body doubles, including Walker's brothers Cody and Caleb. The film was released as a tribute to Walker and grossed over $1.5 billion worldwide, with a portion of the profits from his appearance going to his estate and his charity. Today, Meadow Walker manages the Paul Walker Foundation, which provides scholarships to marine biology students and works on ocean conservation causes that were close to her father's heart. She has also pursued a modeling career and maintains close ties with her father's Fast and Furious co-stars, particularly Vin Diesel, who is her godfather. In a touching development that brought the story full circle, Vin Diesel walked Meadow down the aisle at her wedding in 2021, standing in for the father who should have been there to give her away. Walker's death not only cut short a promising career and prevented him from enjoying the full fruits of his success, but it also left a profound hole in the lives of those who loved him, reminding us that no amount of wealth can replace the presence of someone we've lost too soon. What does it tell us about life's fragility when those who stand to inherit everything lose the very chance to enjoy it? How many more celebrity children will suffer similar fates, reminding us that wealth offers no protection against mortality?